Happy Thursday, wherever the hell that is. Welcome to the Midnight Express. The Sci-Fi Center presents simulcasting on the Poindexter Lounge as we wait the return of my fellow Virgo who's having a birthday at some point this month. By the way, he may tell you that I am some old man, but he's literally 2 years younger than me. We would have been in high school at the same time when I was a senior. He would have been a sophomore, so we're both old. So happy prelated birthday to Enoch. Like I said, I've been watching our private message group. For those of you who are wondering, he is planning on coming back, just getting some things in order. So until then, I'm keeping the algorithm going, keeping the heartbeat going, simulcasting on both the Poindexter Lounge and the Sci-Fi Center site. If you could, like and subscribe both. If you're coming to the Poindexter Lounge via me, like him, vice versa, youtube.com/at the Sci-Fi Center. The donation or tip link is at the top of the Sci-Fi Center's page. It's pinned. Also, let's check. I have extended the deadline. I have extended the march towards the duck. And let's see where we're at here. We're still stagnant where we're at. That's fine. Like I said, I think the most impressive thing is that we had made we had made so much ground the first couple of weeks that it's still impressive. I mean, like I said, I know people who have way bigger followings than me who did not get to where I am right now as far as Patreons go. But if you look at Daniel Martin, yeah, look at you, buddy. So I have extended the deadline for my suffering till the end of this month. So as we roll the night of I think September 30th, leads into Sunday, October 1st. That is going to be the deadline. So at the end of that show, wherever we're at, where Patrons is where we're at. So if we reach 20 by the end of the month, we'll do what arguably is one of the worst movies of all time. We will do a group stream of it. We'll be on the screen. I'll have my Patrons on there watching it with me. I will continue my lifelong quest of eviscerating this movie, but hey, you know what? It'll be fun. I don't bars. I know no. Rational skeptic. Once again, gotta slap myself in the head. Gotta read the question. Rational skeptic, are you doing promotions for Aquaman 2? At this point, and it's still early, Rational. I don't know. I have not heard anything. I haven't gotten an email. But we are still December 20, I think it was like December 20 something. So we're still quite a ways away. And I'm not sure how it's going to mess with my schedule because, to be honest with you, if Rebel Moon doesn't get a theatrical, I'm going to rent a theater or I'm going to do some type of big screen thing for Rebel Moon. So, and I know they come out roughly at the same time. So, because I think Rebel Moon comes out December 22nd, and I think Aquaman comes out right around then. But right as of now, to answer your question, I have not gotten anything from my from the studio about any promotion. I think they are Blue Beetling Aquaman. Let's see, Ghostly Visitor. Hi, how you doing, Ghostly Visitor? Nice to see you again. What's going on, Vince? Trying to get Poindexter to have some push. Yeah, I just don't, like I said, every now and then I haven't been streaming on there as much because, like I said, it's just with StreamYard, it's really goofy how you have to do it. So if I'm on that network, it's easier for me to broadcast to everything else. But when I'm on the other network, it doesn't go. I never got access to that other one, and I never really just did it. But it's kind of confusing the way it works out that way, and it's best to keep them separate. So right now I'm streaming through the Poindexter Lounge StreamYard account because I have access to, obviously, the Poindexter Lounge in my own because I can just add mine and improve my own. But like I said, we're going away from StreamYards for the Sci-Fi Center. Eventually, hopefully sooner than later, we will be switching over to OBS. Like I said, I may surprise you guys. I may do a stream tomorrow night or Friday night. And you'll just have to bear with me with all the screw-ups because there will be screw-ups with me using OBS for the first time. But we got to break it in, and that's the service I want to use. And once I use OBS, it'll be a lot easier because I know the only time I'm going into StreamYard will be to access Poindexter Lounge. But yeah, I want to keep the blood going because, like I said, I think his return is imminent. And like I said, I don't do a lot of this. I don't do a lot of panels and stuff. I know a lot of people have been wanting to get on Poindexter Lounge and do like that, but um, panels are Enosh's thing, and he's really good at them. I am not. I'm good with being on a panel, but I'm not good with running them. They get a little bit too chaotic for my taste. So I kind of avoid it. I mean, the most you guys see me have is like 4 people. But like I said, it's good so that people see that little bell going up and they see that, hey, Poindexter Lounge is, the network is still there. It's still going. And if anything, it's just to let you guys know that, the network is not dead. So there you go. Yeah, I forgot what exact. I think it's coming up here in a couple of days. Daniel Martin is saying happy birthday, pre-birthday, Nash. There you go. Ashoka, dude, that dude Vince. Ashoka was amazing this week, even more so for us Rebels fans. Yeah, and hey, listen, I'm getting attacked, man. I made a post. Like I said, you guys know if you watch my channel, if you watch me anything, I'm not a big fan of Rebels, Clone Wars. I did my due diligence and I watched a lot of it. The story just didn't grab me, and like I said in my post, a lot of my disdain for these things is the fact that I'm exhausted of being in the same Skywalker backyard my entire life. My entire life has been Skywalker, Anakin, Luke. I mean, it's like, and I've had my fill of it. I grew up with it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the prequels for the most part, except for Episode 1. I liked Force Awakens, but like I said, at some point after 45 years, I'm ready to move on from anything to do with the Skywalkers. And I've gotten into it even with Enosh when he was like, well, they had to do it that way because no one was going to watch Star Wars without the Skywalker. He's right, but I think that's a pussy move. Star Wars, to me, is larger than the Skywalkers. It's larger than the time period, the 40 to 30 to 50-year time period that the Skywalkers exist in. Maybe because I'm more a Star Trek guy than anything. You would get laughed at now if you came to any Star Trek fan and said the entirety of Star Trek is just about Kirk and his crew. Kirk and his crew are legendary, but is that Picard? I mean, hell, I mean, every time we do something with Star Trek, we seem to increase the size of the real estate. We bring in a new captain. We bring in a new storyline, even if we still go back to them every now and then, like with Picard Season 3 being what it was. We still have Voyager. We still have Deep Space Nine. We still have Lower Decks. We still have the universe gets bigger every time they try something out. I've been in the same neighborhood with Star Wars so long that a lot of the content, but like I said, even given my exhaustion with this, I'm enjoying Ahsoka. And to be honest with you, I know there are people out there who watch Rebels and Clone Wars and are thrilled to see their cartoon fantasies come to life. That's great. But I'm going to tell you, I don't think you needed to watch those. You can go back to them if you want to. If you're not watching Ahsoka right now because you're afraid that you won't enjoy it because of you didn't watch Clone Wars and all that, I don't think that's going to be an issue for you. You may want to go back and find out who Ezra is. You may want to go find out who Grand Admiral Thrawn is. But right now, the story as it stands is a perfect doorway for you to go back and look at those things. But I don't think it's a stopper for you watching it. So, in last night's episode, to be honest with you, I enjoyed it more out of the whole series. I love the metaphorical storytelling that they did. And as much as I'm tired of Skywalker and Anakin and all this, he was used perfectly last night. He was used in the dialogue between him and Ahsoka was perfect last night. And everything I know about the character, and even when Balin was like, your legacy is about death and destruction. And that lines up with Darth Vader's. And they were telling each other that's not the whole of their legacy. Obviously Darth Vader was, death and destruction, but that was not the whole of his legacy. And if you look at the Force and everything in a much, much broader view than just, black and white, then you see the balance and everything. And I thought that I thought it was cool when he says, you remember it. And she says, yeah, well, then you still have a chance. And it's like, what, to live? And I thought it was just metaphorical enough to where you knew it was him, and you knew Anakin Skywalker still had validity as a Jedi Master. He's dead. He's gone. He's become part of the Force, but he's still training. Ahsoka is still a student. So I thought I enjoyed that. This was the first episode. I as far as I know, you guys tell me if I'm wrong. That didn't include the Dark Jedi, who were my favorite parts of Ray Stevens' character is my favorite part of the show, along with his apprentice. But like I said, I enjoy when Morgan, Diane Lee Santos' character. She wasn't. None of those guys were in there. It was just they minimized the character and the story. I thought the squadron, the Jedi squadron lying to that one captain was hilarious. Where he's like, "You're not going to believe me," and when they finally saw the space whales and went that route with it, So I really enjoyed it. I mean, like I said, and this is coming from somebody who literally is not a big fan of the Clone Wars and Rebels and Bad Batch for that, man. I mean, none of that stuff just really grabs me. I'm ready to move for hundreds of years into the future with Star Wars or thousands of years into the past. But I'm really running out of bandwidth for this era, and that's where I am with it, All right, let's see. Rational Skeptic, Impact might scoop up CM Punk. I was saying this from minute one, the day that they fired him. If Scott D'Amore, if you're watching this show right now, first of all, you need to get a life. Just kidding. But if you're watching this show right now, Scott D'Amore, that should be priority number one. If you're Scott D'Amore, you have to have more faith in your ability to run a locker room than you do anywhere else. Just your ego alone should tell you, what, that's not our locker room. Whatever Tony Khan and the Elite aren't doing there, I'm Scott D'Amore. I've been at this 20 years. I've kept Impact afloat all this time. I can take CM Punk. Our locker room is a better climate than what there was going on in those two places. If you're Scott D'Amore, you have the confidence that you can do this. And as far as the money goes, I will repeat this over and over again because I always get people telling me, Impact can't afford him. That is not true. Chris Jericho has already said Impact made him a massive, generous offer. Now, eventually, AEW outbid them, but there was also other circumstances regarding AEW that was more than just money. So, Impact, just the merchandising sales alone. Just the merchandising. Right now, go on AEW.com. I shit you not. They are still, as of a day and a half ago, AEW is still selling CM Punk shirts. And they're still moving as far as I know because I see people ordering them. And if you look at somebody Pro Wrestling Insider, I think, took a picture of their merchandising stand without CM Punk merchandise, and it's barren. Watch those shows, even tonight's show. Look at that crowd. CM Punk sells merchandise. So even if you're Scott D'Amore and you only have CM Punk wrestle once a year and he just comes out and talks, the merchandising alone, he's going to outsell everything you have. CM Punk fans will come no matter where. He has a following. He has a huge following, and it'll be the hugest following Impact ever had. And guess what? Guess where Bound for Glory is? Chicago. And CM Punk he doesn't have a no complete sauce, so he can pop up anywhere he wants to. And CM Punk coming to the Impact, the engine that could, and taking them to a different level might be the legacy cementer that he needs. If he takes Impact Wrestling, which is the tiniest one out there, and one of the best ones in my opinion, he takes them to that type of level of notoriety, that's what he may be remembered for more than anything else, in my opinion. So yeah, Impact might scoop him up. If I'm Scott D'Amore, I do it, man. I do it. I don't worry about all the other stuff. I do it in a heartbeat. In fact, I'd already had it done. So yeah, Rational Skeptic, I'm keeping my eye on that situation. Daniel. Right now, for those of you who are listening on podcasts or listening just audio only, there are people in my chat that just keep giving me ducks. Keep giving me ducks because they want me to have to suffer through Howard the Duck. But that's fine. That's fine. Like I said, I'll do it for you. How you doing, Jacob McKenzie? How many patrons up? Somebody's messaging me. All right. I think we got 9 or 10. And in two of them, have upgraded. So it's not, that's that. So like I said, we are in the third week. This is our third. At the Sunday, at end of Sunday, will be their first full week. So we are, like I said, as far as I know, we're ahead of the average. So basically, if we were to get 20 patrons, we're basically averaging a Patreon every day, roughly a Patreon every 2 days, which I think I like I said, I know content creators who have much larger followings that are not on that pace. So that's where we're at now. But like I said, we need like I said, I've extended the deadline, so there you go. Oh yeah, I put it in there at the beginning. I didn't see it was already linked. That events. So yeah, put the Patreon link in there, and the Patreon link and the Streamlabs tip link are both in the description. And once again, like and subscribe to this network, and like and subscribe to Sci-Fi Center. As I learn more about this whole algorithm and watch things, it's not necessarily the subscribers that is the most important thing. I'm learning that through YouTube and a lot of the tutorials I'm taking. It's the viewership and the views, and we're actually doing. I keep getting these little Christmas card things from the YouTube thing. You've reached so and so, and they show me where where the average is. I'm like, I think I'm doing pretty good for with the meager following I have. We're actually getting a lot of views, which thank you guys. I can't. There's only one thing to say to that. Rational Skeptic. So is Impact Scooby? I've heard rumors that there's been talks. I've also heard WWE. I don't know why. I guess money would be. They could offer him a lot of money. They could offer him WrestleMania. They could offer him Royal Rumble. I don't know if the relationship between Triple H and him is good. I know Triple H is no longer on the board, and it's a new company now. And he has a good relationship with the UFC, so who knows? I could see WWE because with the power structure being Endeavor, he's not crawling back to Vince. He's not crawling back to Triple H. He's going back to their boss. So, but I would love to see Impact. I think him showing up at Bound for Glory would be the biggest moment in Impact. And I'm not just discrediting a lot of the things that they've done because Impact is a very impressive promotion. And their relationship with Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay is going to be at Bound for Glory. I was already going to get Bound for Glory, but as you guys know, Will Ospreay, I believe Will Ospreay is the best wrestler in the world. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, Rational Skeptic. How you doing, Azteca? Yeah, Daniel Martin. Becky Lynch is now the NXT Women's Champion. How long until Becky Two Belts comes back? Hopefully never. I like Becky Lynch. But I've never been a big fan of NXT. They never really made up their mind. Is it developmental or is it not? You have all that developmental talent that you're trying to get ready. Why is she holding the belt? Those people can hold, she can compete with those people when they make the main roster. But then they go through phases where they want to make NXT like the higher, a higher brand. One time they actually put NXT's pay-per-view on a Sunday. So I don't watch a lot of NXT. Eat my food. For the same reason why I don't watch a lot of college sports outside of football every now and then and basketball. Because you know what? I'll wait till you're up in the main roster, and then I'll see you. All right, Jacob McKenzie, William, thought on Brightburn 2 is in development. Good. I love Brightburn. Brightburn to me is one of my favorite earlier stories and one of my favorite things done, produced by James Gunn. All right, we are at 23 minutes and 15 seconds, so the Midnight Expresses are usually 20 or 30 to 40 minutes. This time I'm not leaving you for Ahsoka. I just got a lot of other stuff to do, so we'll keep it tight. Daniel Martin, William, did you get attacked on Twitter for being anti Skywalker? No, but they're taking issue with the fact that I don't have any use for Rebels and these characters like that. I mean, and a lot of them like, it's a damn shame because they're telling me it's a better story than episodes 1, 2, and 3, and 7, 8, 9. First of all, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with people. Listen, episode 1 I did not enjoy, but I was so happy to see Star Wars since the first time since I was a little kid that I may have over enjoyed it at the same time. Looking back, episode 1 is not that great. I liked the Attack of the Clones. I had fun with Attack. You see little Yoda get down for the first time with the lightsaber, and if they would have shown some of the hidden scenes of the holocron, I would have enjoyed it even more. I love Revenge of the Sith. I saw that when I was deployed. They set up a special screening for us at the Army. I love the battle between Obi-Wan. I love the length of it. I love the fact that you kind of get to see, him sort of turn. I love seeing Palpatine become what he was. This was at a time in 2005 where I was still okay with being in the Skywalker universe. I was still okay with that timeline being fleshed out. Now we're nearly 20 years later and we're still telling, Skywalker tales. And I'm just kind of like, I'm frustrated. I think Star Wars is just so much bigger. There's so much more to tell. And we spent 45 years predominantly telling it in the same backyard that we were in when I was 4 years old. I've literally been absorbing the Skywalker saga. I was born in 74. Star Wars released in 77. My dad took me to the movies. So most of my life, we've been telling Skywalker stories. And some of my favorite stuff is by Timothy Zahn. And the stuff that he's done with it's Skywalker stuff, but it expanded like Grand Admiral Thrawn was originally his character. That's one of the main reasons I'm watching Ahsoka too, because I love the actor who's playing him. I love the character for what it was. I fell in love with Grand Admiral Thrawn back in the 90s when I was still, in love with the Skywalker storyline. But it's like for me, the WWE, the Bloodline. Yeah, it's doing well for you, and I know you guys don't want to step into the riskier waters. But I'm tired of it, and I understand the marketability of people say, well, to them, Star Wars is synonymous with the Skywalkers. That even if that's true, at some point you got to grow a bear, kick down that fence, and go outside your backyard and do what Star Trek did. Star Trek went 80 years into the future and gave you another universe, another enterprise. And remember, you guys may not have been around, but I was around when people with signs picketed Paramount saying, don't do this, you're going to ruin this, you're going to ruin that. Star Trek is nothing without Captain Kirk and Spock and all this, and there were people dressed up. Now look at it. Can you imagine Star Trek without the Next Generation? I am lucky enough to see people fight it from 1987, say you can't do this. And now it is one of the most beloved eras of Star Trek ever. There are people who knock other eras, newer eras of Star Trek because they love the Next Generation. They love Riker. They love Picard. So to me, that's what Star Wars needs to do. I just need more. I want to explore things outside of what we've been given for 45 years. My entire life has been this Star Wars, this Skywalker saga. And yeah, they've done some different things, but they haven't gone far enough. What I would like you guys to do, and we brought this up, on the Point Extra Lounge, like last year, 2 years ago, is read, if you're into comics or if you're into trade paperbacks, read the Freedom Uprising. Read Dark Lords of the Sith. Read the Sith Lore. Read Jedi Redemption. Read the Golden Age of the Sith. These are things that took place 4,000 years before Luke and Leia, but are still relevant to Star Wars. And before they came out and did the prequel series or the sequel series, these things were part of the expanded universe. And then, they recognized them, but they weren't officially canon. But you could find them on Star Wars' website and everything else. Characters like Exar Kun, Yuluk Kodama. These are characters that I loved from the comic books in the 90s as part of the expanded universe. and you got to see the Masashi Temple on Yavin 4. Yavin 4 to me, growing up, was just where they launched the battle against the Death Star. If you read all the old stuff, it's a temple. It's the Mandalorians are an actual blood race. I mean, the Sith are a race of alchemists that the Jedi interbred with. There's a whole bunch of stuff that they tell you about in there. And the Knights of the Old Republic, the video game, a lot of that was based on Darth Ribbon. All that was based on, he worked for Exar Khan. So there's a lot of story to tell that we just don't get to. And every time I see Disney Plus or Star Wars come out, it's like, they're afraid. They're afraid to tell new stories about Star Wars. And I figure, you know what? I'll wait. I hope to be here till my 90s, and I hope they get to the point. I'm not going to hate on Rebels. I'm not going to hate on Bad Batch. I'm not going to hate on these things. I just don't have any use for them. And that being said, it hasn't affected my I still enjoy I think Andor is some of the best Star Wars they've ever done, period. Just like I think Rogue One is. And Ahsoka is up there because, you know what? Book of Boba Fett, I was disappointed. The last season of Mandalorian, I was disappointed. And like I said, we just keep going back to that old, nostalgia. And like I said, I grew up with Luke Skywalker. I understand how people felt when he came in, he wiped out all those barriers and picked up Baby Yoda and went away. I understand this nostalgia. But at the same point, are we selling to just me? Are we selling to the 40s, the 50s, and 60 years old? Or are we going to do like Star Trek did? And yeah, we're selling to those guys, but we know we have to survive and sell to other demographics as well. And like I said, I understand the fear because even Star Wars, listen, you hear me say it all the time. Old Trek fan, we fought a civil war with Old Trek fan. And there's a lot of bloodletting and a lot of damage to Star Trek. But guess what? We are where we are with Star Trek. We have Strange New Worlds because we were willing to take that on. We have Discovery because we were willing to take that on. We even have, listen, there is no Picard season 3 without Discovery. You can forget about any plans from 2007 on if you don't have Discovery doing what it did. But that's the risk Star Trek was willing to make, and Star Wars just isn't right now. Well, Jacob McKenzie, William thought of Aquaman 2 set up elements that potential third film could draw upon. Says, well, my goal was always if we could spin off the Seven Kingdoms universe, that would be my ideal dream. I said, I hope he gets his chance. I really hope he gets his chance. I don't know what they're doing to this movie. I don't know how they're doing the reshoots and what the reshoots mean and how it's going to fit in James Gunn's universe. But you know what? I hope James Wan is a brilliant director. It hurts me to know that his movie's being dicked with, but I hope it all turns out for that. And I hope if he wants to, I've always got the opinion. I've always gotten the notion that he didn't want to do a trilogy, but and he what he's saying. I don't know if he's going to do the trilogy, but he says it gets set up for one. Let's see how the second one does. I got a bad feeling about how the second one's going to do. That might solve. That might put the clamps on that now. And then everybody's in such an all-fire rush to get him in the makeup to be Lobo, a character that me, you, the people in this chat room, and maybe few of my comic buddies know who it is. So great. He'll be a guest character in the Superman thing instead of his own. I mean, this love affair with these C-listers is. I hope it gets tempered and balanced out with A-listers. I hope James Gunn understands that. Like I said, Lobo, come on. You're going to use Jason Momoa, a guy who can draw you $1 billion as Aquaman, and you're going to use him as a character that nobody knows. Who do you think's a bigger star, Jason Momoa or The Rock? And The Rock couldn't draw with Black Adam because nobody knows. That defense, hey, I went easy on you, Facebook. Yeah, and like I said, if people weren't being spirited about it, a lot of people love that show. And like I said, I gave it a chance. Keep in mind, guys, me saying I don't have any use for Rebels and Clone Wars doesn't mean I didn't watch it. I watched most of it, and I went back and watched Clone Wars, because there were certain characters I needed to know about in order to really, and I thought, that I really needed to know about and understand in case they did not refer to them properly. But the writing in Ahsoka is such that if you want to go back and augment your experience, you can. But I watched it with people who don't know these stories. They're basic Star Wars people, but they didn't dive into the extra stuff. They didn't dive into the cartoons, and they're enjoying it with me. So there you go. Rational Skeptic George Lucas says Star Wars is primarily about the Star Wars bloodline. That's fine. I 100% understand that that's where he originated it from, and that's what he meant for it to be when he started it. Star Wars, that storyline is about this. I don't think it's good that all of Star Wars be about the Skywalker bloodline. Not after this much of it. Not after that's like I don't know if Gene Roddenberry felt this way, but I'm pretty sure when Gene Roddenberry was coming up with Star Trek, his mind was focused on the Enterprise, the crew of the Enterprise, and for the most of his life, associated with Star Trek, it was all about the Enterprise and the captain of the Enterprise. Even in he died in 1991, so Star Wars Star Trek: The Next Generation had only been around 4 years when he passed away. There was no DS9 yet. There was no Voyager yet. There was a lot of the stuff that you see in Star Trek wasn't there, for most of his existence in Star. And I'm pretty sure. And when you listen to Gene Roddenberry's son, it was those characters were his family. But even if that was the case of the originator, someone else, Rick Berman, Brandon Bagra, all these people, Alex Kurtzman, have picked up and expanded because that was for the good of Star Trek. And I don't disagree with the original premise of what George Lucas said, but now we are 45 years into it. I think, and even if I got to disagree with George Lucas, I think Star Wars has a bigger story to tell than just the Skywalkers, and that's probably where I'm going to fundamentally disagree with other Star Trek fans. That's fine. They're not wrong. It's just my personal preference is my entire life has been these characters. I'm ready for something else. And every time I see a lot of stuff that is not something else, I'm like, okay, I'll keep waiting. I gave Ahsoka a chance primarily because I like Rosario Dawson in the character. She's just great in it. And two, I want to see Grand Admiral Thrawn because when I was still, excited about this universe, he was one of the main reasons why. So yeah, I think that we've evolved beyond this right here. I think that story, the Skywalker saga, it should have been about. But all of Star Wars, how are you going to give me this big, vast universe where you can travel at light speed across the universe and all these planets, all these worlds, and all these possibilities, and we keep coming back to the same, same old dog in the same backyard. I just want to move. I just want to move. I'm happy. I'm grateful for what we got. It was my childhood, but I just fundamentally disagree with that. That that you have to have them as the basis of the story to tell a good story. It's like I don't need Kirk in every Star Trek story. How you doing, Anthony Beltre? Clinton, Star Wars Episode 1 was the best lightsaber duel of all the movies. It's a decent story. Just a movie was made for kids. I think that's what you mean. I love the battle between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. That is the duel of the fates. That's great. That's legendary. Like I said, I didn't hate everything about it. It didn't age well for me. I think the Battle of Mustafar in Episode 3 with them jumping on all that stuff. It was a lot longer, but I really loved that battle. But the Duel of Fates Episode 1, where Ray Parks and Ewan McGregor are going at it, is still up there for me. Daniel Martin, did you see Alan Moore telling WB to redirect his future earnings from his property towards BLM? No, I did not see that. He must be doing pretty well. It was never about money with Alan Moore. Like I said, man, the guy's a curmudgeon, and I wish he would be more of a part of. We're in an era now where people are doing good visual work with his stuff, and he just doesn't want to be a part of it. Watchmen, the TV show, is still still, I wish Damon Lindelof, if you're watching this show, please give me a season 2. Please give me a season 2. But all of this stuff, to be honest with you, it's the only bad work for me, the one I don't like as much as the others, that Alan Moore has done is League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I just wasn't a fan of the story, and I wasn't a fan of the movie. But everything else, V for Vendetta is great. Watchmen is great. Watchmen TV show is great. I think he should be proud of the stuff that to me, if I was a creator and my medium was being broadcasted out and on things and introduced to people new people every day, I'd be happy about it. But he just isn't. So, but yeah, that's good. I mean, he like I said, he always said it was never about the money and the fame for him. So good on him, I guess. How you doing, Aaron Pritchard, my favorite Australian? Rational Skeptic, William, they're doing Dawn of the Jedi, Old Republic, High Republic TV shows and movies, so we're all getting what we want. Yeah, and like I said, I think it's taken them about maybe 15, 20, 25 years to get to all that. But this is good news. I'm waiting for these things. And Dawn of the Jedi, I a little bit skeptical of that one. I mean, that may be going back too far. But the Old Republic, if they're doing it, the fourth, I think they're only going, 200 years? But I would like to see them go with the Knights of the Old Republic. I think High Republic is the one that's 200 years back, but Jedi Old Republic, I need to see how far back they're going with that one. I know there's been announcements, but until I start seeing trailers and actors and stuff like that, especially now it's a strike, now that right there, those are going to be the shows that get me super excited because that's the era that I really, really want explored. Or go hundreds of years into the future with a new Jedi Order and everything else and tell a story there. I just need to get away from where we're at right now in order for me to get excited about it. That's just me, by the way. My opinions are not edict. This is just me. What I posted was my opinion, and I even put in my opinion. If you guys love Rebels and you guys love Clone Wars, continue to love it. It just wasn't for me. And I'm just not super excited about other projects that keep me in this universe. I will watch them and do my due diligence because I'm in science fiction horror and the name is a sci-fi center. I would be remiss if I didn't watch it, but I want to watch it with that sense of wonderment and excitement. And, Ahsoka's given it to me, but I had to basically take a shot on watching it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this new stuff as well. I'm looking forward to that more than anything else. How long it's going to take for us to get there? I mean, am I going to be in my 70s, 80s, 90s? Anthony Beltre, William, what's your opinion on the Crow reboot? Is not a Marvel film. It's kind of an anti-Marvel film. So, hold on for a second. All right, it says it's not a Marvel film. It's kind of an anti-Marvel film, says producer Sam Pressman. Marvel must live rent-free in these producers' head or director. Well, I think Marvel lives rent-free at a lot of the audience's head, so he has to say stuff like that. And what he's saying is true. Like when we covered the Pro a few weeks back, one of the main appeals for it, because it was that same thing with Sandman. The environment that these things were being released in, as far as comic books, was a market that was dominated by Marvel and DC. And look at it now. The environment that this Crow is being released in is released in an environment for when it comes to comic book movies is still, even though they're not as strong as they once were, still dominated by Marvel and DC. So I think what he's saying is pretty smart because he has to distinguish himself, and also put the clear call out there for people who are looking for something that is not Marvel and DC, but still looking for a comic book movie. So I'm sort of on board with that. That dude fans said Chris the Piper Jedi made a good point after the episode. The lesson was Ahsoka learning forgiveness, something he never learned, and how now she forgives herself for thinking he fell because of her. I got that. I got that part of it, just the whole moving on aspect of it. I also got to the point where, like I was saying before, was when you think of Darth Vader, when you think of Anakin Skywalker, you think of the millions of people he killed, the Death Star, and everything he was part of. The murder of Jedi, the murder of kids, the murder of all these things. And that's if you're when you think of him, that's synonymous. But um, what I also think was a larger point is that what we ultimately do, what a Jedi ultimately does, his entire life, is in all the decisions he makes. There are larger than any one aspect of what they've done, even what Vader did. And I think the quote he said when he said, I was told my legacy, when she said my legacy was death and destruction. He said, but that's not all you are. Neither am I. You came from me, and that's not all I was. And what he was saying is like, me as Darth Vader. The world knows me as Darth Vader, but that's not all I am. That's not all I was. And here he is, being a part of her mission, training her still. So I really love the dialogue. I love that scene between them. And like I said, even though not the hugest fan of Clone Wars and all that, seeing that as part because that's their relationship. And then I like the part where he came, where she's in a part of a battle where she had already left him and he's still there with her. So I really enjoyed this episode. Yeah, and the resentment she had for him and the fact that she looked on herself as an extension of what he became. And she still is. She's still an extension of what he is, but not. But the dark side wasn't the whole of what he was. Is what I think the thing. So Disney always minimizes it. I don't. Yeah, they do, but I don't think they're doing that this time. I really think Rosario Dawson's she's got me enthralled in this character. She's one of the main reasons, and besides Thrawn, seeing Thrawn on there is going to be a bigger. It's going to be big for me. Like I said, somebody who was reading those books in the '90s, I had a good time with them. Heir to the Empire of the Thrawn trilogy. William, Anthony Belcher. William, what's your opinion on Warner Brothers officially campaigning Barbie for Best Original Screenplay rather than adapted screenplay? I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend to know the specific rules in regards to Best Adapted versus Best Original. I'm just not that kind of expert, but it may because it does not qualify for one and it does qualify for the other. That's the best answer I can give you right now. I think Brad, when he's on Saturday night, might have a better answer than I would on that one. Aaron Pritchard, do you think President Joe Biden should step aside and not run for the election? A lot of media here are saying he's too old and failed to still be president. All right, so usually I generally don't answer political questions on here because it could alienate one person or another. And, the unifying thing of science fiction, horror, and fantasy that brings us all here. But I will say this. You should be judged on your execution. You should be judged on your resume. I am across the board not for age limits when it comes to elected officials. The age limits for elected officials are voters. If you feel comfortable with somebody that's been in their office for decades and that's your guy, he represents you. If you vote him in, that's it. That's the deal. All the people that are old and people are telling that you shouldn't be this, you shouldn't be that. You knew how old they were when you hired them, when you voted for them. So you as a voter, I don't think that the only people that should tell someone to ever step aside from doing what they do are the people who hired them. Period. I don't care if it's an elected official or if it's somebody paying you. If I got an 80-year-old guy working in my store and he still can do it, then I'm going to continue to keep him on the payroll. If I have a senator or a congressman or a president that is still fitting the bill and checking off the boxes, capable of comprehending legislation, I don't care whether it's Republican or Democrat. And I look at that resume, and that resume is what I need it to be, then I'm going to say you keep your job. It's where I see it. Like I said, I am of if you want term limits and age limits, they're called voters. They're called elections. But once again, I know I have people that are well into their 70s and 80s that are executing. Look at a lot of the billionaires that run companies. They're in their 80s, and I mean, you know. So yeah, usually I don't jump in the political spectrum, but this is a broad answer I can give you. It comes down to resume. Is that person still performing at the expected levels of their job? And B, you know, do the people who hired him, are they happy with the job he's done? And that can apply to Democrat, Republican, Independent, anything. So there you go. Anthony Beltre, William, what's your opinion on the studios continuing to refuse to make the fair deal with the actors? They may need to delay more movies as they need actors to do ADR work to complete sound mixes. Brad sent this to me. He alerted me. I'm gonna answer that in depth. Once again, my blanket response to this is gonna last a while. I don't know. I wish it would end now because it's already, you know, like I said, it's already hurt. It's already taken one of the best movies I was waiting for and moved it to March, and it's probably going to end up in that movie Dune 2 being moved to the summer because I really don't see any major significant advantage to releasing it in March. You know, unless you got a loaded schedule. But then, you know, if you're going for Oscar concerns and all that, you know, you can even push it even later than that. So it's a mess. But like I said, Brad's keeping a really close eye on the stuff and on the overnighter. That's obviously, you know, we've been covering the strike, and I am hoping for the day when we open up the Sci-Fi Center overnighter, Saturday overnighter, and we don't have to talk about this stuff. But there you go. Ghostly Visitor, the episode was good. I got to see Anakin as a light side, dark side Battlestar with the red saber. Yeah, that was cool when he came out with that. Saber looked good on Anakin without the Vader costume. Yeah, and I love the metaphorical storytelling. That's probably one of my favorite things about this episode. Is you knew she was in a Jedi, you know, a mind thing, you know, but it was because it was in that environment that they could do whatever they want. They could tell you a story and change the mood just by changing it. And that blinking thing that they did with Vader as he was walking through the smoke, that's Anakin doing that to her. She's not dreaming. That's Anakin. Anakin is part of the Force. He's not denying what he was and what he did. What he has learned, and this is where I'm gathering from, as part of the Force, seeing things in a much, much larger view, is that is just a speck of what he has to contribute to everything. So I really enjoyed those scenes with him. That dude fans, they definitely aren't minimizing the leads in this series. I don't think so. I mean, this episode was pretty much her. You know, that's my opinion. Jacob McKenzie William thought on Alan Moore says he asked. Oh yeah, I answered that. Yeah. Aaron Pitcher, what horror movie would make a great show? Oof. That's a broad question, man. Ooh. What horror movie? I think The Thing would make a great miniseries. I don't know if it would make a ongoing series, but the Thing I think would make a great TV show. Nothing with zombies in it. I don't want to ever see a zombie TV show. Aliens. Yeah, there you go. Aliens. Jacob McKenzie, he also said, I don't really feel with the recent film that they have stood to what I assume were the original principles. Is that Alan Moore? I guess he has the right to his opinion because he wrote the stuff, but as a consumer, as somebody who's read this guy's work all my life, I think the stuff that's been released heavily relies on the original principles. I thought that was really. Oh no. I like I said, my I don't really have when it comes to Ahsoka, I just don't really have. I don't have a lot of complaints. Like I said, I didn't know whether I was going to watch the show, but like I said, as it became more evident that and Mars Mikkelsen is going to be it's going to be Grand Admiral Thrawn, and like I said, Even before all of this, before Rebels, before I enjoyed him as an enemy. I thought he died one of the lamest deaths of any Star Wars character, but they've retconned him though. So, if there's any character that can make me watch modern Star Wars stuff in this universe again, it's gonna be him, because I think he's a lot larger than this story. Now, I do have a small bone to pick, and I guess this is going to be part of the big reveal. Spoiler alert for those of you guys who haven't been watching it that are going to. I'm going to give you some time. I'm gonna let me put spoiler alert, because it's not really a spoiler. But if you here you go. If you haven't watched, the spoiler tab is down at the bottom. If you haven't watched it yet, so I'm going to give you 10 seconds before I say this, and then So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We still haven't seen Thrawn yet. And this is 5 episodes. And how long is this series? This is a 6-episode series, correct? Ashoka is I haven't been paying attention to that. Hold on, I'm pretty sure it's 6 episodes, guys. Hold on, they could be wrong, because I really never looked. Should have this on. Oh, it's 8. I'm sorry. So, okay, cool. All right. I hadn't been paying attention to. I just been taking it one episode at a time. All right, cool. So we still got time. All right, so I'm going to take the spoiler ticker off. So there you go. So 8 episodes. So we still got 3 more episodes left. 7, 8. So, like I said, I'm enjoying it. Who knows? Maybe, because I did this with Lower Decks. I wasn't the biggest. I still ain't the biggest fan of Lower Decks. But after the crossover episode, I'm willing to give Lower Decks a little bit more of a shot. Maybe things like that is what it takes to get me going. But there you go. All right. I love you, William. Eating the ducks. Stop it with the ducks. How you doing, Max? Max recently took his mask off. I jumped on his channel the other day. It was some dude standing in a Blockbuster. And I'm like, who is that? And I'm like, that's Max's voice. And he's finally, he's finally taking the mask off, which is cool. All right, more. Okay. I think I just wanted to see Balin and Shin in this episode, but that would have shown where they went, which we will definitely see. Oh, yeah, well, the whale, like I said, spoiler alert. How many in the chat haven't seen it yet? So I don't want to really. I know a lot of people who haven't seen any of it yet and are just waiting till it's done. So I don't know how we can do it without spoiling it for you. If Ahsoka was just about Ray Stevens and that crazy princess and a different name, I'd watch that. I would watch that too. I'm watching this and enjoying it, but his crazy apprentice, dude, she just looks like. She kind of reminds me of Javier Bardem's character in No Country for Old Men. That soulless looking, that look in her face, and her eyes, man, her eyes are like just cold, dead. She's committed. She's got a little Padawan braid on too. I will definitely see for the remainder of the series. Yeah. Let's see. Ghostly Visitors. I can't believe there's a new Doom sequel movie being made from Doom Annihilation 2015, 2005. Had a better origin setting. Sheesh, I would prefer 2005. Didn't The Rock do that? Wasn't that one of his lesser films? Jacob William thought on James Wan on the feedback from Aquaman 2 screenings. Aquaman 2 doesn't feel like your typical superhero movie. It feels like old school Ray Harryhausen movie. Well, the first one did. I thought the first one had that feel. In fact, I brought that up when I reviewed it a few years back. I thought that the first one, especially all the monsters and the creatures and how they were done, even though they were, Ray Harryhausen, for those of you guys know, is a legendary stop motion, Sinbad, Clash of the Titans. He used stop motion, clay and stop motion, whereas obviously the modern day era they're using CGI, but it still had that feel of being a Ray Harryhausen influence movie. That's the biggest compliment because of the spirit of what I was going for. Yeah, because I think he was going for that in the first one. All right, it's a long one. Jacob McKenzie, and we're running. I've got about 5 more minutes left of me, guys. William, thought on Juan on if Affleck, Keaton, Batman appear in Aquaman 2. The best thing I would say about the movie is that it's not connected in any way to those films. That's not the bottom line. Sounds like a no to me. William, thought on James Wan emphasized his plan for Aquaman 2 has remained the same since the beginning, despite what you may have read in the press. That's good. I mean, I hope it turns out. I hope we're not talking about another issue where a director pretty much has his movie sabotaged. Let's see. Ghosty Visitor at Jacob McKenzie. Yep. They're keeping things quiet or making sure this film, when it comes to what they're preparing some damage control. Yeah, because it's going to hurt. Batulek. Well, I've never heard it. Oh, you met Batulek. Okay. Yeah. Long-haired Team Puck. Phil Brooks. And I hope he returns. Like I said, Bound for Glory in Chicago, and it's coming up. Scott DeBoer, do it. Sign him. All right, Azteca Aguilar. September 16th is Batman Day. The Dark Knight trilogy will be back in theaters Saturday. I might go watch the best Batman film the day on the big screen as Batman Begins. You're trolling me, but you know what, Azteca, if you like that movie and that's your favorite, you have fun Saturday. I'll be watching something else. How you doing, Missy Mitropoulos? Been waiting for a late show. Hey, I've been doing them. Like I said, they've come and gone really quick, but this one's a little bit longer. Brightburn 2 finished crapping on it now. It didn't have anything to do with Zack Snyder's films. Yeah. And so far, the people who want to bury the Snyderverse look, as far as executives and pundits and all that, each day those people look dumber and dumber when you look at what came after. For everybody that wanted to crap on Zack Snyder's movies and that entire era and want to bury it, whether they watched the movies or not, look at what came afterwards. After this universe was the control was wrested from his more than capable hands. Look at what we've gotten since. Look at where it's gotten so bad that James Gunn is here, and they're so desperate that they're willing to give him the keys without any real restrictions. That's what happened after Zack Snyder's movies got screwed with. So for everybody who says the Snyderverse is dead and that it needs to die and all that, it's hard for me to look at you with a straight face now on the backdrop of what's happened since it stopped. If you're going to say the Snyderverse this, the Snyderverse that, then you need to point to something that came out from the extended universe, the connected universe, that was better than what he was doing. And you can't throw Wonder Woman and Aquaman out there because guess what? Without Zack Snyder, you don't have Jason Momoa as Aquaman. Without Zack Snyder, you don't have Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. So and without BVS, you don't have the connection that audience has got to see her in that movie. So those are pretty much his movies too. But the further you move away from his influence and you start getting closer to Polka Dot Man and Huntress and all that, you guys that like the hashtag Snyder versus Dead and all that, I should start hashtag Well, what came afterwards? You were in such an all-fired hurry to move on. What did we moved on to? We almost moved on to Gleek the monkey. That's what we almost moved on to. So, yeah, these whole Snyderverse dead things, I don't know. Maybe it's time for it to not be dead in some way. I mean, unless you want to keep losing money. I don't know. To be fair, I'm more of a Kenobi, Anakin, Qui-Gon fan. Okay. Revenge of the Sith was good. Yeah, I loved Revenge of the Sith. That really drove it home for me as far as what Anakin had become. Jacob McKenzie is William. What are your thoughts on the Rockets working to trade Kevin Porter Jr. along with Jack conversation in the wake of charges of felony assault and strangulation due to attack on his girlfriend? I don't see anybody, taking them because they're taking on those problems. I mean, what gaining team is going to, even with the draft conversation, the main guy in the trade may not be available. Anthony Belcher, William, what's your opinion on Marvel Studios visual effects workers having unanimously voted in favor of unionizing? This is the first time a unit of VX workers has ever unionized with IATSE. I think it's a good thing. I'm always a big supporter of unions because I think without unions, corporations will go crazy. Now, I also think the unions need to do their part and be reasonable, but at the same time, the last 30 to 40 years, we've seen a weakening of unions, and now look at us. The weakening of unions is why we're here with this whole strike situation. If unions had maintained their powers throughout the last 35 to 40 years, you would never get to the type of situations that you're in now. Jacob McKenzie, William, thought on Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom will be a bromance action figure movie. I heard of that with Patrick Williams, the guy who plays his brother. It's a mission between those two, and I'm like, oh well. Ghosty Rider, can someone explain to me explain how the villain Aquaman has a C-staff weapon that looks like Aquaman? That I don't know. That's probably part of the story. Are we talking about Black Manta, right? Ghosty? Fun, how you doing? There's a big difference, or at least Star Trek expected and did not shit on the OG characters, unlike Disney did with the original Star Wars OG. Luke turned into a hermit. On how now, well, I didn't enjoy that story, but him turning into a hermit, I didn't like where the story went. And to be honest with you, the big difference is that eventually Star Trek stopped using the OG characters because there was no story to tell. Once they got to a certain age, that was it. You had Star Trek, The Undiscovered Country, which was their swan song as a cast, and then you were well entrenched in Star Trek the Next Generation, and then Deep Space Nine, and then Voyager, and then go so on and so on. I think the huge mistake for Disney was using those OG characters, and they used them for the reasons that I stated before. They are deathly afraid to tell a Star Wars story without them. To me, that hinders your creativity. And they're right to be fair, but like I said, if you're gonna do this, grow some balls and do it. I mean, you can't just say, well, they would have never gotten Star Wars off the ground without the Skywalkers. And you know what? Grow some fucking balls and take a risk. You get paid millions of dollars to use your imagination, not be a pussy. You have the corner offers in a multi-billion dollar company, multi-billion dollar studios with a franchise with the potential to do a lot more. If you're going to tell the story and you don't want to fall into the nostalgia trap again, then you cannot be a pussy. The risk of old Star Wars fans is out there. You can't not grow because of that. Learn from Star Trek. Learn from Star Trek. Star Trek had to learn a very painful lesson of growth to get where they are at now. So they should have, be honest with you, I had enough of Han Solo back at the end of Return of the Jedi. I had enough of Luke Skywalker at the end. I didn't need, be honest with you, I didn't give a rat's ass how Boba Fett got out of that Sarlacc pit. I've gone literally 30 years without giving a flying hoot about how Boba Fett got out of that Sarlacc pit. Didn't care. Didn't care. If I would have never gotten that story told, I was okay. I never needed to see Han Solo again. I never needed to see Leia again. I never needed to see Luke again. I saw them. They had their time. Didn't need to see them again. So, but here we are. You want to tell a story, but you're afraid to tell it under circumstances that would give you a lot more freedom. You went back to the nostalgia trunk, and guess what? It bit them right in the ass. Because once you start going back to nostalgia, everybody who basically you were trying to please with that nostalgia trip is now going to choke the life out of you because you didn't do it exactly how they wanted it to. Or you took their childhood characters and did something different with them that they don't think they should have done. When it would have been better for you just to have gone to different characters and build new stories. But hey, that's just me. That event, I want them to make some Old Republic live action shows or movie. I really do. Knights of the Old Republic for me is what they need to do. Force 1000 nostalgia is what killed The Force Awakens for me. Yeah, and I thought The Force Awakens was a good movie, but it got bit by nostalgia. Terrible plot killed The Last Jedi, and then whatever the last movie was called, The Rise of Skywalker was incomprehensible. Yeah, the last two of the sequel were just bad because I could think you had a opportunity to hand this thing off, and you didn't hand it off. You just basically kept everything that you were trying to hand it off from into the it just became a family reunion movie. That dude Vince, one of my favorite visuals in the episode of Ahsoka was seeing Maul's Mandalorians from the Siege of Mandalore. Those helmets were seeing. Yeah, and that was one of the cooler moments because that's where you see Anakin come up and I don't recognize this battle. Let's see. Ghosty Visitor, William Wright, Star Wars is bigger now. More stories are being done. The Old Republic and thanks to Knights of the Old Republic that kept Star Wars away beyond the Star Wars. Yeah, and like I said, I implore you guys to read those. I mean, we may review them. They're not necessarily turning points for comics because they didn't have the broad scale outside of Star Wars fans, but I still think they're interesting stories, and I might bring them on the show. I stay Old Republic because there's thousands of stories to be told. We have huts. We think of huts, and they're just Java, right? There are Jedi huts. There are Jedi wiki that we haven't seen. That's Tucker, good on the producer. I think people are getting sick of Marvel film formats dying. I still think the formula works. I just think they just haven't used it well. And a lot of it is because they blew their wad with the Infinity Saga. I think once you have like a lot of people think that Pink Floyd, even Roger Waters says once we released Dark Side of the Moon, everything else was rubbish, which I disagree with. A lot of people see that as your magnum opus, and that's it. It's going to be hard to reach that high again. Yeah, this is a simulcast, Missy. I like I said, I because of the two different programmings that I use and are going to use, I go back and forth within the same StreamYard account, and it kicks me out. It's a long story. But like I said, so if you haven't subscribed to my channel, then go ahead. You'll get a lot of them on there. To be fair, the old Crow movie would have flopped. Unfortunately, had it not been for Bruce Lee's son dying. If Brandon Lee does not die in that movie by accident, and I hate to say this because you know how much I love The Crow. That movie is my soundtrack to the 90s. Who is texting me at 1 o'clock in the morning? Okay. But that movie flops. If Brandon Lee lives, he goes on to be a big star. He goes on to make bigger movies. But The Crow would not have been one of them. And I hate saying that, and I hate that being true, but I think that is very true. Like I said, so that event says Jacob McKinney. I don't think so. Can't imagine it has a huge budget. The first movie was a cult classic with a great soundtrack, so I think it will do well. And like I said, I think it has an uphill battle simply because of its predecessor and the time and place in which the Crow was released. It was just different. Clint Huntley, the Solo movie wasn't Skywalker, but it bombed. Maybe that's why Disney won't leave Skywalker stories. Well, yeah, you're right because of fear. But also that movie, the timing of that movie wasn't very good either. It's released. Hold on, let's see. That defense sad too because Solo was good. I thought Solo was a good movie. I thought it was better than the fate it got. But once again, even though it wasn't a Skywalker movie, we're still in that time period. We're still in the lifetime of those characters. I want to be so far away from those characters that there's no chance that you're going to run into them, their friends, their dogs, their grandkids. I don't want to see any of that. I saw it. I enjoyed it. I'm ready to go. Wow, Azteca. If you're past 55, shit. That's young for a politician. Wow, dude. Cold-blooded. If you're past 55, you should not be allowed to run for president. Wow, dude. That's a tough one. Yes, I'm doing some giveaways for Batman Day, and I'll be doing some promotional stuff with our Batman. I'm sending out a mass emailer later on this morning that'll highlight all that stuff. But yeah, we're gonna do some raffles and stuff. So not too big right now, but just a little bit. Damn, 55. That's a bit hard. 65? I don't know, man. Like I said, I think it has to go on a case-by-case basis no matter what the job is, whether it's president or anything else. Is the person currently doing the job? Not whether your opinion of his job, not your opinion of that person's politics, one way or another. Is the person effectively executing the duties of the job? Whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, that doesn't matter. Because once again, in this election, the person running against Joe Biden is only 4 years younger. He'll be in his 80s, too. So, is the person faithfully executing the offices of the presidency or any other job? Bus driver, doesn't matter. Is the person, because not everybody's the same. Not everybody's cognitive senses fade or, as quickly as others. So it's really not a political question. It's more of an execution question. Sorry, William, on that political question. I'll make sure not to ask those types of questions in the future. This is on the ban list. In a matter of speaking, I just, like I said, I will take it on a case-by-case basis. I chose to read your question out loud, so it's not banned. But politics is a large spectrum, and a lot of people have a lot of legit reasons for thinking differently when it comes to political views. Even if they do not align with mine, they have a legitimate reason why, they believe in what they believe. But we all believe, when we come to this place of gathering of science fiction, horror, and fantasy, we can be us here. We can put down that baggage and walk into this geek table and not have to worry about, if we are going to scream at each other, it's going to be about, cartoons, science fiction, horror, writers, things like that, the things that are in our sphere. You are not excluded. I know there's a lot of platforms where if you're a conservative or you're liberal going one way or another, that you feel that you're not welcome to those platforms. And I never, ever want to make someone feel unwelcome to this platform unless they come on the platform and they're vulgar and do something silly and dumb, or, cause issues and all that. But other than that, no, it was on me. I chose to read the question. So it's like, I brought it up. I looked at the question. I thought about it. But like I said, to me, that's not necessarily a political question. That question applies to everyone around you. Do the job you were hired to do as long as you can do it. Now, if a doctor or a physician or somebody says, dude, you can't do it anymore, I'm noticing this, I'm noticing that, heart rate's not there, this, and that, then we have an issue. But right now, if he's physically cleared to do the job, and continue to do the job. And like I said, just like a normal job, your boss, your manager, it's his job to release the person if he sees he can't do it. And the same thing with a voter. It's the voter's job to they are the management, they are the quality control when it comes to politicians. Azteca, same with people who are never into politics. Stop electing celebrities, damn it. Thanks, Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll leave that one alone. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Yes, you can. There you are. YouTube.com / at the Sci-Fi Center. Where are we at? We're actually, wow. I mean, that's another thing I need to thank you guys for. We have vaulted. I mean, ever since we did one show, I think it was the Born Again show. I can't remember. Where we had the most views we've ever had on the show, but we jumped up in subscribers, like 33 subscribers in like one night, and we've been steadily increasing since then. And for all you guys know, I started out, I was primarily on the Poindexter Lounge, even though I had my own thing. I wasn't paying attention on it because I was focused on keeping that going. And then as he's making his return, I'm sliding a little bit over, and our viewership is raised. And like I said, I'm still blown away by the actual views we're getting on certain things, the overall views we're getting on the content, the collective content. So, yeah, please like and subscribe and do all those other things. There's no one metric that is a determining of success, but they're all working right now, and I'm really happy to be where we're at. So thank you to everybody. All right, let's see. Yeah, and it's all about the ability to do the job. It's all about the ability to do the job. Thank you, Aaron. Oh, how could you? You're about to be reminded a lot. And like I said, this is going to be the place you come. Listen, I have strong political opinions, but I generally don't express them here unless they apply to what we're doing. Like, I will bring up what Reagan did with the strike in the pilots and the airline union. I bring that up because it's relevant to where we're at. That move, trust me, had a reverberating effect decades later throughout unions, throughout it really weakened unions. When the president of the United States interferes on that level, it dealt a huge blow to unions. And now we're at the point where a lot of these things that you see going on with collective bargaining are basically the unions regaining ground that they lost since the 80s. I knew it was coming. Fun. I say elect Howard the Duck as president and William will be his VP. Or Leah Thompson would be his VP, maybe. George Washington Corpse 2024. Oh, Lord. Okay, let's slow down a second. Yeah, Mads Mikkelsen played his voice in Rebels too. I know that, and I love that actor. Oh, dude, please bring Hannibal back. Please, somebody bring Hannibal back. That show is visually stunning and beautiful. We need to do a stream one day of shows that got canceled or people gave up on them before they had a chance. Hannibal was beautiful. Mindhunters, beautiful. Sarah Connor Chronicles, beautiful. There are so many shows, and I look at the shows that have gotten time, and I'm like, what the hell? How did Alf get 4 years, and I can't get that many for Sarah Connor? How did Alf get 4 long years, and I can't get another season of Hannibal? How did the cat-eating alien get more time than Firefly got? How does this happen? These are crimes. Anyway. All right, guys. I've gone way over my Midnight Express limit. Yeah. All right. Yeah. 8 episodes. So, yeah. So, there you go. All right, guys. Thank you. This was only supposed to be a half-hour stream. I went an hour over. That's mainly because you guys brought topics and conversations that I enjoy talking about. And don't be afraid to bring a political question to me. It's up to me whether I answer it or not. Now, I ask that you not start a political argument in the chat, but if you have a political question for me, I will be the determiner whether, don't be afraid of that. I will look at it and determine if it applies, if I can make it the answer apply to all of this and everything that we're talking about without choosing a side, I'll answer that. So, Aaron, don't be afraid to ask the question. It was up to me whether I wanted to answer it, and I chose to. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and wrap this up. And I'm gonna go get some sleep because I got a big day tomorrow, and I am in a lot of pain with my feet. My feet are swelling, and my shoulder hurts. But like I said, what we're gonna do is what we always do. I think it is so important that if you are listening to this stream at nighttime, or if you are catching a stream later on down the line or on a different day, and you need to hear this or see this, for those of you who are watching or listening on on just audio only, 988 Suicide Crisis Lifetime. I know you're probably getting sick of seeing this. Probably, I know it's getting repetitive, but that's what I want. I want it to be like breathing for people who have these issues, who at any given moment just aren't feeling it. I want it to be like what they call in the Army muscle memory. It's instinct. It's as much instinct for you to dial this number as it is for you to hurt yourself. So it's going to be on there at the beginning of the stream and the end of the stream. Until we reach a point where nobody's harming themselves anymore, and we've gotten the mental health to everybody to where those numbers plunge to nothing. You're going to see this up there as long as I'm running a stream, as long as I'm running a show. 988 Suicide Crisis Lifeline, 24/7 call, text, check. The very existence of this line, the very existence of this resource tells you A, somebody cares, and that B, there's somebody at the other end that made it through what you're going through now. So for the chat, everybody who made this a cool experience and actually made it so I felt great about going an hour over my original timeline. You guys have a nice evening, and I will definitely see you tomorrow night. Maybe it'll be from OBS. Who knows?